Okay, so I would like to call the Newberry Council on Aging Board of Directors meeting to order on June 15th at 1:16. And I just need to review some information. As I call your name, could you please state that you are here? As we are also going through the agenda items after whoever is done speaking, I will go through each individual member's names and ask if you have any questions, as well as for the voting. So again, this is the June 15th, 2020 open meeting of the Newberry Council on Aging Board of Directors. It is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in publicly accessible physical location. Furthermore, all members of the public bodies are allowed to and encouraged to participate in meetings remotely. This meeting is convening via Zoom conference and as posted of the agenda for the Newberry Council on Aging Board of Directors. All right. Members, as I call your name, could you please state that you were here? Jerry Dorr.
Present.
Dee Dee Heatwall.
Here.
Joyce Macheros.
Here.
Evelyn Noyes.
Here.
Sandy Small.
Here.
Maggie Malley.
Present.
And again, I am Chaz Rudich, Chair of the Newberry Council on Aging Board of Directors, and we are not anticipating any speakers at this time, and I do not see any public members attending at this time. So the first item on our agenda is review and approval of the May 18th, 2020 meeting minutes. I will give everybody just a few minutes to review them.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting.
Thank you, Joyce. And I will review each member's name. If you can state in the affirmative, if you agree with that. Chaz Rudich, yes. Jerry Dorr.
Yes.
Dee Dee Heatwall.
Yes.
Evelyn Noyes.
Yes.
Sandy Small.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And our next item on the agenda is the election of the officers for fiscal year 2021. Time is moving quickly.
May I make just a little addition?
Sure.
Chaz, I heard back from the administrative assistant that that all members have been reappointed by the Board of Selectmen for the June meeting. Dee Dee Heatwall will be reappointed at their July meeting. So
All
Jerry,
right.
Sandy, Joyce, Chaz, and Evelyn are good for the June meeting.
Very good. Thank you. All right. So on our nominations, it was Chaz Rudich for chair, Joyce Macheros for vice chair, and Sandy Small for secretary. As I go through each of your names, could you please state in the affirmative or the negative if you would like to make a vote for accepting those nominations? And again, it's Chaz Rudich for chair, Joyce Macheros for vice chair, and Sandy Small for secretary. Jerry Dorr,
I approve.
Dee Dee Heatwall,
Approve.
Joyce Macheros,
I approve.
Evelyn Noyes,
Yes.
Sandy Small,
Approve.
and I, Chaz Rudich, approve. So our officers going forward for starting with the July meeting will be Chaz Rudich for chair, Joyce Macheros for vice chair, and Sandy Small for secretary. Thank you, everyone. Our next item is review of the Council on Aging expenses since last meeting. Maggie?
Yes, thank you. Expenses, I may have alluded to this in the May meeting, but since that meeting, the daily news subscription was renewed for a digital subscription only. We dropped the hard copy print version. That was renewed for 12 weeks, $81. That amount will go down. That $81 was for the print edition. We needed to pay that, and then subsequent invoices will reflect the change in subscription type. For United States Postal Service, for stamps, we've continued to do birthday cards, monthly birthday cards, and this also includes postage for mailing out masks, $56.20. Current Catalog, which is the company where we purchase birthday cards, $37.50. That's about 100 cards. And again, one more bill for the Postal Service, which $23.40. That is for mailing masks and applications to volunteers, prospective volunteers, and a Staples bill, which included paper. I'm trying to remember exactly what was on that. It was paper, tape. This was to beef up our supply of our supplies to send out the spring newsletter, $72.57, and that was it since the last meeting.
All right, as I call your name, if you have any questions for Maggie. Jerry Dorr,
I accept.
Dee Dee Heatwall,
Questions?
Joyce Macheros,
No questions.
Evelyn Noyes,
None.
Sandy Small.
No questions.
I have no questions either. Thank you, Maggie.
Mhm.
Our next item is plan for reopening.
Plan for reopening. One of the items on my list is Elder Services. During our conference call with Merrimack Valley and North Shore directors last week, Elder Services mentioned that they would like to give grants predicated by COVID-19 to councils on aging. And the amount that Newbury would be receiving would be $5,000 to be used specifically for nutrition and or for outreach. This doesn't necessarily fall under the title of Plan for Reopening, although since the what we would consider the normal style of doing business is going to be shifting and changing and being modified, this grant money to be used for nutrition or outreach is relevant. And when I was thinking about, I need to just come up with a short paragraph and file that with Elder Services, explaining and describing what Newbury would like to use this $5,000 for. And I was a little bit late. I wanted to get on this call today about 1:45, but we received food, a USDA boxes of meat that was facilitated through Elder Services, and they just happened to arrive about 20 minutes to 1 under the heading of food and nutrition. The Food Pantry, as I've mentioned when we've spoken, I think when we spoke last, that the Food Pantry on High Road has stepped in and really filled a tremendous role of providing food for so many of our senior residents when it was complicated and difficult to get to the grocery store. They will take some of this fresh and frozen meat to utilize with clients on Fridays. So I don't know that Newbury has tremendous need to put some of this $5,000 toward nutrition. For outreach, I was thinking about, I think Jerry had suggested at our last meeting, looking at what a quote-unquote survival kit might look like, or something like that. It's open for discussion, obviously. Perhaps some of this $5,000 could be used for that. That could certainly be seen as an outreach, move.
I
What do
want
you
to
think?
speak to that after.
Okay.
I have this packet that came in the mail.
Okay. All right.
It's got
so I
two masks. I'll speak after.
Okay. No, I wanted everyone to think about it. I mean, you determine how this money should be spent. And since survival kits was on my list from the last meeting, I started thinking about that. My other items are really just reassurance calls are continuing, and the IT and media department, I'm going to have a conversation with them this week about the process, the logistics of putting up material on Newbury's Channel 9 so that people could access programming from their television as opposed to the computer. We could also provide things on the computer on the town website, but really for folks who may or may not have access to a computer, Channel 9 is a nice option. So we're going to have that conversation this week about how that happens. So Jerry, back to your idea.
I got this in the mail. All right, this is a plastic bag It came with 2 masks, 2 handy wipes, and disinfectant. And we can buy it in bulk and assemble it for $5 a package.
Okay.
That's because these are the PPC masks.
Mm-hmm. What does anyone think? Well, Chaz, what do you?
I think that might be a good idea. My concern would be how many residents do we actually have in Newbury that
But that's a good question.
the Council on Aging actually serves, or would this be done upon request?
Well, I further thought, I was thinking if you have a group of volunteers that want to volunteer to do something, if we bought the supplies, they could make them ready, and then on request, we could give them out.
That's certainly a possibility. We could, yeah, have someone come in, 1 or 2 people come into the center and set up the supplies. I'll go back and look through my notes to see how many masks that I've sent out. It's not a huge number. I think I may have mentioned before that we set up the volunteer grocery shoppers with 2 masks each, just to get them started. This was back in early April. And I'm surprised after the spring newsletter that we haven't had more requests. I think we've had 2 requests for masks. I was surprised. I thought we would receive more inquiries about masks. I also think some of that has to do with the fact that people are still not going out as much, haven't really begun to go out earnestly. So perhaps,
Or they're going to Seabrook. I just came back from Seabrook. Do you know you don't have to wear a mask in New Hampshire?
I
Oh,
found that
right.
out the hard way.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh my gosh, I panicked.
Me too.
I didn't know that. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I think one thing a lot of the elderly are making them themselves now, or have folks that are making them.
Oh, that's an
Good.
interesting point too.
And do you think that we're a day late and $1 short with those? I hope this is over with in this COVID business.
It's not going to be over with as far as the senior center goes.
Oh, okay.
As far as, and that falls under the heading of plans to reopen. The protocol, we will have to create our own protocol, and I've started gathering from Massachusetts Councils on Aging and from the other, Merrimack Valley and North Shore senior centers that are creating reopening plans with their boards of health. So Newbury will have to create its own, but the protocols are, it's a long list of protocol.
But what I'm saying is it may not be over because our governor has not told us it's over, but I hope that it is going to, within the next month or so, we would be hearing those words. Are you saying this is a forever thing?
I don't know that it's a forever thing, but as far as, welcoming the public back into senior centers, the protocol is fairly complex is the wrong word, but mask, face covering, limited numbers of people at one time. For example, in Newbury, there won't be any eating in the center. Because,
but isn't this a month to month? Is it I just get the feeling we're talking long-term, and I don't mean just us. I hear people talking like this is going to, yeah, I mean, they're talking about not opening schools in September. Well, let's wait till we get to September.
Right. I think, and some of the other councils on aging that I've been on calls with in the last couple of weeks at least are looking at and these are the larger centers, looking at having in-center programming perhaps in the fall, maybe later in the fall. And those are the larger centers that have the ability to have people socially distanced in the facility, so that they could have, and it will be, a percentage of their normal capacity. I think the ambiguity of a hard date is still got to do with the CDC and creation of a vaccine. I think that's where a lot of these protocols are open-ended until there's further guidance.
So I think with this outreach money, since we can't have them inside, we should do something that we can benefit them to hold them over through this period. And it would take some, maybe some brainstorming, Evelyn, you're in touch with people all the time and you know what they might need. But I think, couldn't we use this $5,000 to help them somehow with that? They mostly all have their masks now, don't they? Doesn't everybody have masks at this point? We should have some maybe to have on hand so that we can hand them out. But I don't know as that should gobble up this $5,000.
And we did receive, since the last meeting, we received another donation. We have about, what did we get? I think we have about 55 masks that were donated from a couple of other organizations. Now, these are not standard, obviously. These were made by local sewers and quilters. I will need to run this by the emergency management team. This is what I've been sending out because I didn't have any other, the sterile masks. I didn't have any of those. I went through the stock that we were provided with early on. So these, and there weren't any more. So I went to the donated masks. So I need to check, and I didn't before this meeting, check with the emergency management team to see if we can go ahead and give out these non-standard, there's no standardization, cloth masks on behalf of the Newbury Council on Aging. So I will let you all know what I hear from the emergency management team for the town.
And Jerry, I think that idea is a good idea, but I think we should maybe look into other things that we could add with it.
No, absolutely.
I would like to call a few Council on Agings to see, to try to steal some of their ideas, see what they did to help their elders during this time. Unless you know that, Maggie. You probably do know it. I was just wondering what we could possibly do.
I do. They have continued to give out masks and things like that. We'll be on a call tomorrow. The Essex County and a few towns in Middlesex. So I'll pose that as a question. Now that we're X number of weeks in, what are they finding that they're getting requests for? As I said, I was surprised that we didn't receive requests for masks. Or even for grocery shoppers. I was surprised with this spring newsletter. But we didn't receive a lot of requests for masks right from the start. So it was surprising. So I will find out.
Oh, I'm sorry, I overspoke Maggie, I'm sorry.
No, no worries, no problem.
You said a disinfectant. In talking to people, for some reason, like I know my sister said she didn't have any. What was in that package that you referred to as a disinfectant?
Oh yeah, no, this is a this package is a mask, two hand wipes, a bag, and then there's a little 3-ounce thing of disinfectant.
Okay, I think that's a good thing to put in. I don't know if a lot of people are using that. I use it all the time when I come in and out of my car, or if I touch a mailbox or do something like that. I get back in my car and use my disinfectant. So I'm doing that rather than wearing gloves. So I think that would be nice. And I was trying to think the same thing. What else can we put in there if we proceed on that particular way? But you're going to talk, Maggie, and maybe you'll come up with some ideas on your conversation.
I will. I'll ask the emergency management team. I'll mention that the board is interested in perhaps sending out a small, wellness bag with a mask, perhaps some hand sanitizer, just to see what they're thinking and see what their stock is. Actually, they may.
Right.
Especially if they want to have a standardized type of mask that's provided by the town, then it's going to have to come from the town.
So Sandy, you were talking like a group get together somewhere where there's spacing, or what did you have in mind? As far as spending.
I'm sorry, I don't understand which subject you're using.
Oh, you're talking on the 5,000 and different ways to spend it on the seniors.
Yeah, I think, as Maggie said, she should, and Evelyn referred to asking other councils what they're doing, but probably we could find out on, I should have looked on that newsletter that we received. We might be able to get from the council, the Mass Council, what they're doing. I don't.
They did mention that it's nice to have activities outside. That was in that.
Right.
And that it would be nice. I don't know what subject matter it might be or where we could do it outside.
Over at the library, they have a ball field that I don't see used very often. We could sit there. It's 200 feet all the way around.
Well, we'll just have to see what the others have been doing for outside activities, and if we can get an idea that way.
Yeah.
And I can reach out to the director of the library to find out, because that is town space. As you know, that we're limited here because outside the door is school district space.
Right.
So it's a whole different liability consideration. But I'll check with the director of the library.
So, I'm just wondering, are you thinking that this, let's just call it the library event or whatever, would be maybe a book group or a book group discussion or something? Or what were you thinking? I wasn't quite.
There's no end to the ideas that we could do.
Yeah.
Really. I think that personally, I think that probably they're just itching to get out and see people. And if we're allowed to do that, then in an open space, I don't know if that's possible. And I don't even know if that would fall under outreach. I don't know.
And then we'd have to get them there.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm not sure van activity is something. Where do we stand on that, Maggie? That's just out of the question, the van.
The van isn't out of the question. Some of our neighbors are doing 2 people as the maximum number in a van, again for social distancing, and everything needs to be sanitized between trips, that kind of thing. We are going to utilize the van for some more medical appointments that are required to be in person, but it's one person on the van. As far as group activity for the grocery store, we've not even planned how that would happen. 2 people at a time. We haven't even considered that yet.
Okay.
But moving people to and from for programming, once I get a feel for what the library is looking at for their timing. I mean, at the moment, all town buildings are still closed to the public until further notice.
Right.
So, I don't know I'm sure that I know that the library is looking at what their life will be like. They are doing curbside pickup and drop-off at the library, but as far as utilizing their space, it is probably, I hesitate to say months, but I think because of all of the considerations that are required, months is not unreasonable with, perhaps modifying space and staffing for cleaning and sanitizing, and all of these considerations.
Who are you utilizing to figure out like your spaces? The DPW, like they did town hall, are they going to assist you?
That's on the list of things
Okay.
to look at. I think how this space would be best utilized.
And if we're no longer allowed to use the kitchen, and how, I don't know if that's forever, until we get more space, maybe there is something that can be done in the meanwhile with the kitchen to have privacy for meetings. But I know there's going to have to be hookups moved or IT work done to get you all settled in at safe spaces.
Exactly.
And we're going to need somebody to that's knowledgeable to help with that.
Yes, I think that having some kind of a proposal from the board of directors for with some kind of plan as to how to utilize the space, and it's really how to utilize the space with staff people at this point.
Right.
Not even the public yet. But just staff people. We received.
Well, there's not a lot. There's just 3. Are you still bringing in volunteers at times?
We are not. That's considered. No, we're not. We're not bringing in volunteers. The things have been moved. Not
well,
drastically.
who planned out the town hall? There's lots of employees there, and somebody had to plan out the distancing and plexiglass and all that to make them safe. Did they have a certain person that's knowledgeable in that do it?
I'm imagining so. But
maybe
I don't
talking
know.
to your town administrator and see if she can give you some input.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. I'm just making some notes here. While it's just 3 of us, but there is a position that's unfilled, at a third desk with a computer that is not able to be utilized at the moment because it's too close to one of the other workstations. So
I understand
as you pointed out, the kitchen or the middle hallway desk area, something like that. So
I see in the middle, Alex used to sit there, and I'm sure that's 6 feet away from you, but that's more a privacy problem.
It's a privacy problem, exactly. I mean, it could be wired for a computer. I think that wouldn't be a problem, but it is a privacy issue, which is where I don't know, taking up some of the kitchen space. I mean, it definitely requires,
I don't know if the board of directors can be helpful on this because we're not there and we're not working there in a daily situation. I don't know if 3 of you can put your heads together. and come up with something that might be feasible and then run it by whoever planned the actual town hall employees and how to set that all up safely.
I'm just making some notes here.
Does anybody else have any comments on this?
Actually, I think it's a really nice segue. I know that we had planned on reviewing the presentation from the expansion committee, and I want to thank everybody from the expansion committee. One of the reasons I know that we had planned and going into an executive session to review it with the guidelines around the executive sessions. We're not able to do that. So I want to give the expansion committee some time to be able to answer questions. So I would like everybody to, if you have questions for the expansion committee, to send it out to everybody. That way they can be prepared to answer the questions. One of the other things too is because there is so much uncertainty with COVID, when we're going to be opening back up for visitors, when we're going to be able to have groups, what that's going to look like. Is there going to be a resurgence in COVID? There's a lot of different variables going on. I think that's one of the pieces to add on to the expansion committee's report before it's presented to the Board of Selectmen. I have been into the center to sign the warrants and the payroll, and they have set it up a little bit differently. So Gail and Janet have space between them so that they're protected. But it also does come into consideration as well, going forward, as if we're talking about having volunteers come in to make up kits or to help prepare things, how much more space is going to be taken up where we generally have folks sitting for activities. So I think those are all good suggestions from everybody. I know Maggie has been working on that, and we probably do need to get somebody in from the town as well to say, okay, what can we do with this space?
Right. And I think they all say to bring in your Board of Health, everything. When I'm reading yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to jump from one thing to another, but I think it's a priority not to wait till another month until we distribute those bags. If we're going to do that, we should probably get on that soon. If we're going to send or put together the packages for the seniors, if that's the route we're going to go. I don't know if that's something we'd have to take a vote on, or we should we'll wait for Maggie to talk a little bit more and then get back to us with what she's heard about the others. The other COAs.
Right. I'll be on a call with them tomorrow.
Okay.
And also the emergency management team that makes a difference
right.
regarding what kind of masks. If they want it to be a standardized approved mask, then it has to come from a different source. And they may have hand sanitizer and sterile masks at this point. They haven't. There's, it's not been easy to come by. And
Maggie,
if we were to,
excuse me, they're not sterile, they're clean. Nobody has a sterile mask.
Okay. The little, we did have a box and we no longer do. We had a partial box. My mistake. I thought that they were titled on the box.
There's no need for sterile masks unless you're in the operating room. You need a mask to prevent the secretions. That's all.
Right. No. All right. I won't use the word sterile, but the town may require something standard, a standard.
Right. Okay. Getcha.
That they purchase. So I'll find out. what they prefer. And I'll see if they do have hand sanitizer at this point. They probably won't have nice little 2-ounce or 3-ounce or 4-ounce bottles, though. So that would be something we would have to purchase, I think.
And that might be difficult.
Yeah, it might be difficult. Not sure yet.
Well, no, I have a line on purchasing
Oh,
all
great.
of this stuff.
Okay. Well, that makes things easier.
So Maggie, you had said you have to submit a response for the grants.
Yes.
And what is your deadline for that?
The deadline is Thursday this week, or Friday. I'm sorry, Friday.
So what are we going to have you say? What are you going to say? To provide kits to go out, or? What does
I can
everybody
do
else
that.
think?
I can include.
Is there something else we can use it for that would beyond the kits?
As a matter of fact, now that you mentioned that, one of the other directors sent that out this morning to the group, and there hasn't been any back and forth yet. And her question was, what is our narrative here? How are you going to spend the money, and how do we describe it? So, to be continued. I'll let you. I'll let you know. I'll be on the call with these folks tomorrow, but I'll let you know if there are responses back and forth. This group is wonderful about sharing. This is what we're going to try, or this is what we're doing. So I'll let you know. It's very short. It's a paragraph. About how we plan to use it. If you folks agree that outreach, as the broad title that it is, suits our purposes more appropriately than nutrition, it's community outreach is what the actual title is.
Well, I think you said we're pretty well covered as far as the food pantry.
We are. If Newbury was a meal site, that would be a different story, perhaps. But since we're not giving out food. All right, so we'll do community outreach, and we could do both, but I'm not sure how we would put money toward nutrition services.
I think we'll be better organized if we stay on one thing.
I'm in agreement, but I don't get a vote. Just my suggestion.
And I'm also looking at the information that was sent for the request. And it's not really asking for great details. In the narrative, it basically says briefly describe how you're going to be using the money. I think that later on down the road, how we actually used it will become more important than starting from, okay, day one, this is what we're going to use it for A, B, C, and D. I think it's more just of a general idea.
Okay, I just thought that they were asking specifically.
No, it's just a very general, brief. There's some choices for the funding purpose: nutrition, community outreach, or both nutrition and community outreach. And then the narrative section just says briefly describe how you will be using the above funding. So I don't think it has to go into a lot of detail, and I think that there's some wiggle room so that we're not pigeonholed into one specific category.
I just don't have the expertise for nutrition. Our donation to people that provide nutrition to the elderly is the only thing I could think of on nutrition.
Yeah, it could be also, as far as the nutrition, that we're doing increased shopping trips, that we're going out and going grocery shopping for consumers, opposed to what we've typically have budgeted or scheduled.
Okay.
That's true. I mean, if we, if Newbury invigorates the grocery trips, it will be more trips per week because it'll be far fewer people on the van at one time. So the, gasoline bill will increase.
Are you talking about taking seniors themselves, or are you talking about their volunteers that go out?
This would be taking seniors. I mean, some seniors are already calling to find out when we're going to start the trip again. But
Yeah, probably, yeah. I know they must miss going into the grocery store and picking their stuff.
Right. But I'll write something up. I'll write up.
Okay.
I'll write something up for community outreach and perhaps for both nutrition and community outreach. And I'll keep them broad. As Chaz said, I agree that down the line, as the money is being spent, there will certainly be checks from Elder Services as to how we are actually spending the money and defending those expenses.
Okay.
So, that will happen down the road. So they just like a brief summary of what we're thinking of spending it on.
That's good.
I'd like to go back on your comment about meeting with the media people and presentations, and perhaps we can expand on that if there is an avenue to have presentations via the Channel 9 and YouTube videos. I mean, even the ones we've already held and we have videos of.
Oh, could we just begin to run those on Channel 9?
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Could you inquire if we would have like a regular, if we so chose, could we have a regular scheduled date or something that we could use every week, every whatever?
Exactly. Something that could be eventually posted in a newsletter, an upcoming newsletter.
Right, every month or whatever.
Yeah. All right.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Especially the one about the Alzheimer's and whatever. That was so interesting. And that got a very good turnout.
And then, if that seems to be doing well, we can perhaps get additional videos or have something, maybe, I don't know, chair yoga or something we could do. I don't know. We could think of some things.
Exactly.
I think. Can you do bingo like that? Probably not.
There is, Drake is doing that. They're doing bingo. They're providing people with a little kit. They have 75 or 100 people show up for bingo. So they're doing little kits, like disposable things. I mean, it's nothing they have to return. They put a dauber in the bag. That's one of their little kits. Drake is one of the kind of the test site for remote and virtual programming from Massachusetts Councils on Aging.
Good for
they're
them.
big. They've got a very active center, and it's terrific. I love that they're doing that. They're also doing a crafting kit that they can either pick up at residents can pick up at curbside or have dropped off. For a little crafting kit. The director is a crafter, so she has, they post a scheduled time, and you do crafting with Bethany, and everything that you need for that craft is in the bag. And they're also doing, there's another one they've got too, I think it's an art class.
Are they doing that on their local channel, or are they doing it on Zoom?
I'm not sure. I think they're doing it on their local access, cable access channel. And they may be doing, I'm not sure, I think bingo is on Zoom. Yeah, that would be really the only practical way to do that.
Because with our lack of space for social distancing and all, it's going to be very difficult for us to be able to have any in-house activities.
Yes. Indeed.
So if we got more into with the TV channel and all, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
just to feel like we're providing something or doing something for
I agree.
them.
I agree. Perhaps bingo down the road, depending on what the library is planning for their
I
new life.
printed off their last newsletter, but I haven't read it yet. So, all right. Thank you, Maggie.
Oh, my pleasure.
Is anything else on the agenda?
Anything else under, I think we covered pretty much everything under planning for reopening and other business. Was there anything else, Maggie, under other business?
I think we've covered everything that I had
Okay.
written down. Yeah, we have.
All right. So next question is, I know typically we have taken off during the summer months. And I know a few meetings ago that we, especially when we were doing programming, that we continue our meeting through the summer months. What does everybody feel about that? Jerry?
I think this is fine if we're sitting home.
Okay. Dee Dee?
I'd rather not, actually.
You would rather take the summer off?
I'd rather take the summer off, yeah.
Okay. Joyce?
I would, normally I'm one for taking the summer off, but due to the situation out there, I think I've changed my mind on that. And I don't see a problem for me in doing a July and August meeting.
Okay. Sandy?
I think we lose momentum by not meeting. It's only an hour. It's not that hard. Even with it being remote, it's even easier. I think we can't get much done if we don't meet, so I'm definitely for meeting.
Okay. And Maggie, do you have a preference? I know that you don't have a vote in it, but do you have a preference?
I agree that this unusual time with things that are rather up in the air as far as how to serve the seniors in Newbury. I agree that at least the summer of 2020, even just meeting in July, just to keep the momentum going of the conversation regarding some kind of a kit for seniors, also the programming conversation. I think it's a good idea. I normally would say, yes, let's take the summer off.
All right. All right. And I agree, I think.
Don't forget Evelyn.
Oh, yeah. Evelyn, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Evelyn.
I agree with continuing through the summer.
Okay.
And right. Completely understand if people have vacation planned and can't make it.
Yep.
I think we should go forward.
All right. And I agree. I think so as well. So our next meeting will be July 20th at 1:00. And we will...
Chaz, I have a question.
Sure.
What is going to happen with the old town hall once the new police station is built?
I have not heard of anything as of yet. Has anybody else?
Wouldn't that be a good place for us?
I believe that they're forming a building committee to look into all aspects, Jerry.
Nah, I thought it would be perfect, but you're right.
I know. I agree. And I think that this whole COVID thing has really thrown a lot of different variables into the situation that a lot of the departments are considering, not only just here in Newbury, but across the state and across the nation. And I hate to say it, but I don't think that we are going to go back to normal times before COVID. I think there will be a new normal after this. When that's going to happen and what that looks like, I think it's really anybody's guess. I know there's lots of people trying to come up with that plan and what that solution's going to be and what that's going to look like. I think it's going to be interesting.
I agree.
All right. So with that said, does anybody have anything else?
Well, I want to follow back on our presentation. Is it true that, did I hear you say people are to send all three of us, copy all three with any questions they have so that we may be prepared to discuss them?
Correct.
And then I'd possibly like to have an informal meeting in person so that we can discuss them at a later date.
That would be perfectly fine.
Okay, because I think that a lot of times responses via email are misunderstood and not clear, and it's better to do it if you can speak directly with people.
I agree.
Okay.
Maybe a meeting outside if we can't find someplace inside. We could do a circle in a yard. It is possible. It's just having the right weather and the right time.
And as long as it's not on town property.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
I have a sand backyard. Nothing beautiful. The decks aren't big enough.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that shortly. We'll think about that.
Okay. All right. I make the motion that we adjourn at 2:13.
I second.
Jerry,
I agree.
Dee Dee,
Yes.
Evelyn,
Yes.
Sandy.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
you,
Have
everyone.
a good day.
Bye. See you
Be
soon.
well.
Bye.